Hello everyone, Eric Chappelle, Civil Community Evangelist for Autodesk, and I'd like to welcome you today to our webcast, Feature Extraction from Reality Capture Data in InfraWorks. The star of today's show is Ramesh, and he'll be taking over shortly. But before we get into that, I just wanted to share a little information about our webcast series in our community. If you're new to the webcast series, this is something we've been doing for a little over 2 years now on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. And the idea is to inform you about our products. Mostly we're talking about InfraWorks and Civil 3D, but we can get into other products as well. And we want to give you that insight from the perspective of our product team. And if you caught Ramesh's title, he is the product manager for Reality Capture for our infrastructure products. So you are hearing it right from one of our product team leaders. So today is a great example of that type of delivery. So it's a chance for you to hear from the product team, a chance for you to ask questions and provide feedback. I'll get into that a little more in just a minute. And just generally speaking, we want to bring you guys, the users of our products, a little closer with the folks who are making it. Our next webcast, we're going to have kind of a guest presenter, Angel Espinoza, who I know many of you know. He's not part of our product team, but he is always working closely with InfraWorks and with our customers. I know personally he's got an amazing library of just wonderful things that he's done with InfraWorks. Some of them very practical and some of them very otherworldly, like the image that you see on your screen now. But it's sure to be an exciting hour of just amazing, wonderful things that you can do with InfraWorks. So if you're interested in InfraWorks at all and you want to get a really wide view of many different things that it can do, this is going to be a great presentation. And if you know Angel, he is a fantastic presenter as well. So really looking forward to this. It's going to be in 2 weeks, Wednesday, July 26th, same time, 12 to 1 Eastern. So shortly after this webcast, you'll be seeing information pop up on our community site, in our social media sites, and if you've attended a previous webcast, including today's, you'll get an email as well with information on how to register for that webcast. So keep your eyes peeled for that. As far as topics go, you guys are the best source of topics for us. So if you have an idea for something you'd like to see in an upcoming webcast, please type it in your questions window. You don't have to do it right this minute. If something pops into your mind later on during the webcast, you can enter it at any time. But please type into the questions. We download a log of these every webcast. So as we're planning new topics for upcoming webcasts, we'll refer back to this and see what you guys have requested. So appreciate any input you have there. Speaking of input, I have a few polls that I'd like to have you guys participate in. The first one is, what is your current usage level with InfraWorks? So please respond. The first answer is, I don't have it installed. Next is, I've installed it and played with it a few times. I've dabbled in it on a few projects. I regularly use it on some projects. And finally, I use it on almost every project. Couldn't live without it. So we're looking for some indication of what our customers are doing as far as their InfraWorks usage level. So far, it looks like it's a nice even spread across the middle, although it looks like I regularly use it on some projects is taking the lead with 29%. I'm just going to leave that open for a few more seconds, and yes, it looks like that is our winner. I regularly use it on some projects. So I'll share the results with you on that just for a second, and you can see how the results came out. All right, let's look at the next poll. What type of work do you do with InfraWorks? So tell us, those of you who indicated that you use it, what kind of work are you doing with it? Site design, road design, GIS data compilation for early project planning, residential design, or visualizing projects. So let us know what you're doing with InfraWorks. And as always, we really appreciate the information and feedback that you guys provide on these polls. It helps us drive the direction of development and pretty much all activities surrounding the product. It's extremely valuable for us to know what you guys are doing. So I'll let that one open for a few more seconds. Looks like right now visualizing projects is in the lead. And let's go ahead and close that poll and I'll show you the results. So the winner, visualizing projects with site design coming in GIS data compilation coming in second, and then site design, and then road design. One more to go, and like I said, I appreciate you guys providing this information. Let me launch this one. We're interested in knowing what's standing in your way of full adoption of InfraWorks in your company or in your organization. Is it the cost of the software? Is it that it doesn't have functionality that you need? Is it unclear how it fits into your workflow? Is it because Civil 3D fits the bill for what you do, or is it because of the training and implementation costs? So let us know if your company or organization hasn't fully adopted InfraWorks. What's the reason for that? What's standing in your way? And if it's some other reason, feel free to type it in the questions pane. If you don't see it listed up there on the poll, let us know. Maybe there's something we haven't thought of that could be an obstacle for you. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close that poll, and I'll show you the results. Looks like the clear winner is unclear how to incorporate it into workflows, and then the next answer in line is that Civil 3D fits the bill for most people. Thank you again for your feedback and input on that. That's greatly valuable to us. I want to let you know about our civil engineering community. You'll see the URL there. It's currently autodesk.com/InfraWorks360 community. We're in a transition period where we could be seeing something new on this very soon, but for now this is the location, and you won't see just information on InfraWorks here. You'll see information on Civil 3D as well and other products. This is a great hub for information and kind of what's happening right now with the civil engineering industry and Autodesk. The user forums, you can access them from here. Ideas, where our customers are posting ideas about things they'd like to see change with the software. Tips and tricks, the gallery, where customers are sharing their projects that they've been working on with Civil 3D and InfraWorks and other products. Information coming through social, Facebook, Twitter, etc. Lots of video information, including a library of all of the webcast recordings of this series. I'm happy to report that we have yet to forget to record a webcast, so we have a full and complete library of every webcast in this series dating back to spring from 2 years ago. So definitely check out the Sorry, I know you guys are still seeing the poll results. Thanks for letting me know about that. So yeah, here's the information about the civil engineering community. So definitely check that out when you get a chance. A bit of a disclaimer, some of what Ramesh talks about may deal with preview features or labs features. And if that is the case, we want to make sure that you don't make any purchasing decisions based on that information, and that you should understand that there's no guarantee that anything that we discuss about an upcoming feature or capability is a guarantee until you actually see it in the software. We want to encourage you to ask questions. While Ramesh is talking, I'm going to be keeping an eye on the questions pane. I will admit this isn't an area of expertise for me, so I probably will have to defer questions to Ramesh at times throughout his presentation, but don't hold back on that account. I know he's happy to answer questions, and we'll break here and there or have a little time at the end to take care of your questions. So please, the more questions the better. It makes the presentation even more interesting, and that's always good to hear questions and also feedback from you guys. So that's the end of my spiel. I'm going to turn it over now to Ramesh. Ramesh, I'm going to make you presenter.
Perfect.
And you now have the floor.
And I see my screen.
I can see your screen and I can hear you loud and clear. You're good to go.
Perfect. Thanks a lot, Eric. Thanks everyone for joining today. So for next 45 minutes, we're going to talk about how to use the reality capture point cloud data, mainly from design perspective, like a road design kind of perspective, but in general, how to use reality capture data in InfraWorks and Civil 3D, and in mainly in those areas. So we'll focus on the feature extraction part as from the point cloud data. I just want to put you there. Everybody knows, almost everyone used some of the tools we already have in InfraWorks. The point clouds are reality, but there are a few things we are actually doing a little bit different, a little bit nice, is that the point clouds are becoming more than just a visualization component. It kind of goes to a stage where I no longer want to just see and measure it. I want to do something with it, and that has to happen with the intelligent tools. So that's what we thrive to add in the product to make sure the software and the data works for you to get what you want to do. And we should have a proper workflow, and that should be simple and efficient. So keeping that in mind, so today I'm going to just show the software itself. I have a sample data from the point cloud. I'm going to show you how to prep the point cloud data and extract the linear features, and also extract some city assets or Xtopo features you want, and export it out so that you can use it. So at the end of the webcast, any point cloud data you get, as a user, you should be confident what you can do with the InfraWorks product. Hopefully that helps you how to incorporate InfraWorks in your workflow and use more for the road design and the feature extraction capabilities. So now, having said that, let me bring this thing down, push the InfraWorks up. So I took the liberty to bring in a point cloud data. It's a RCS file. Let me show right there. So it's actually a RCS file. I loaded it in here, and it's a mobile LiDAR data. It's a relatively high density. You can rotate around and see. So the first thing, how to prep the data set. We're not going to talk about the registration and that kind of stuff. Now you have the data set. How can I get some information content out of it, or extract some terrain or surface very easily with InfraWorks? So step number one, run point cloud terrain tool. And I'll explain this UI in a second. I'm just going to kick it in. It's going to take a few minutes to run this process. While it is running it, I'm going to come back here and show you what it actually does. So when you're doing the presentation, what we are doing is, when you bring the point cloud data, especially for AEC industry, the software should do the information content. As a user, you are focused, or you want the information content of it, not just every single point in the point cloud data. So software has a tool. It extracts the derivatives from the point cloud data that impacts your design workflows directly. I'll show you in a second what I mean by that. Once you have that, the point cloud and the derivatives you extract helps you a lot on any value added surface. You could do like a vertical clearance, the change detection, a lot of stuff you can do. Once you remove the noises out, once you keep the information content in, that helps you a lot. So that's kind of a background, kind of small philosophy behind what's going on, and that's what the terrain generation actually is doing behind the screen right now. So what do I mean by derivatives? So I think I showed this slide before to some users. I just want to recap it. Like, for example, this is the point cloud data. Looks very nice. It's a good point cloud, a 3D information, 3D image, and whatnot. But it's still a data set. So once you have it, right now the workflow in the industry is that you go ahead, you extract some break lines, paint stripes, the top of bottom of the curve manually, and try to export it or do something with it. But the point cloud has a lot more to offer. And the first thing is high resolution ground. We're obviously collecting hundreds of points per square meter or so, but why waste everything? So now this ground extraction removes all the noises, anything that's not ground, and classifies the point cloud data so that user can actually use a terrain in InfraWorks to begin with. Like many of you actually voted for the site design. This helps a lot on that. If you have a point cloud data using a drone or any other means, you can bring it in with a simple tool. You can create the terrain really quick and start using the design process very effectively. So that's the first derivative we extract from the point cloud data. The second one we call it as a clustered vertical features. So anything that's sticking up from the ground, it could be a cars as you see here on the side, it could be a sign, a street light or traffic light, even McDonald's sign for that matter. Anything that's sticking out from the ground, software automatically classifies them. In this case, I know I'm using the word classifying very loosely here, I'll get to that later, but software kind of flags them separately, and software knows what it is, so that if this is a features you are interested in, we have a tool called point cloud modeling that helps you extract these as a point features that can go into Xtopo as a design or GIS software, or in InfraWorks you can use it as a 3D modeling tool as well. I will cover that briefly in the webcast at the end. That's the second derivative. And third and foremost is when it comes to road design or anything for that matter, we need to extract some features, what we call as a linear features. So something that should be represented by multiple vertices. In this case, you can actually see that software classified the paint stripes, the passing lane, the edge of pavement. There's something that's not so palpable here, or the top and bottom of the curve that's marked green in color. But the bottom line is when software is processing things, the background, it tries to recognize what is there in the data. It tries to flag them internally so that when you want to extract some linear features, it makes that experience much easier and simpler and faster to do that. So this one needs what we call intensity values in the data. I'll go to that detail later, but the terrain generation we are running in the background does this as we are speaking. So as you can see, though, I'm using roads as a primary example here, but the concept is simple and straightforward for other industries also. But once you extract the bare earth, anything that's taken from the ground, anything on the ground that needs as a linear features, helps as a base derivative. That's what I call it as a derivatives, and that can be used for your design and modeling and other uses very easily. To show you what the terrain generation is, it's a simple example. I'll of course show you the data I'm running in the background. There's a large area, it's about 100 miles or so, this one, and you see that this is raw data. When we run it through, the software can actually generate. In this case, we create a raster, but what I'm trying to impress here is the software removes the noise and all those components automatically and creates a bare earth information, in this case as a raster, but the same thing, you can take it into Civil 3D, you can triangulate it, you can do all the stuff you do with the surface, but software does the heavy lifting for you. And one thing I want to mention is all the tools I'm showing here right now and today is a point cloud tool. What that means is any data set, like it could be a static or a terrestrial LiDAR, or it could be a mobile LiDAR, or it could be a drone or UAV based collection, you get the point cloud data, you can process them. You can get information content out of it. You're not stuck with just a mesh or something. You just measure something and measure the cracks or something like that, which is a good application. But now you can use much more than that using the tools we'll be seeing today. And a lot of stuff happening in the background. For example, we all know that point clouds are huge. That's probably one of the reason many of you might not have got a chance to dabble with the point cloud data. We take care of that internally. So when you bring the point cloud data, when we do the information extraction, that makes it much easier. So now I can use more of the information content, reducing the redundancy in the data, so you get best of both worlds. You get the best points and smaller number of points to make your process, storage, sharing, everything easy. This is a typical quick example where the one on the left is actually the raw data, or all the points. One on the right is actually the processed point cloud data. It looks the same and everything's fine, but the big difference is the RCS file. The one on the left is about 400 megabytes, the one on the right is 40 megabytes, and they both are RCS file. I'm not zipping or compressing. I'm not saying you'll get 10% or 10% reduction or 90% reduction in this case on every single data. It depends on the redundancy on your data. It depends on the information content, but you can actually keep the information content, bring the point cloud size somewhat significantly to help you mess with the point cloud very easily. So having said it, there's a pre-information about what the terrain generation is doing. While that process is still running, it's almost over. I'll just give you a little bit more information on the UI so that when you're trying it on yourself, you should know exactly what you're doing. I just quickly recorded a video here to show you. So this UI is very simple. You bring in point cloud data. I just opened one RCS file. You are welcome to use more than one, or you can open an RCP file that has a lot of RCS internally. So the software does a batch processing. So you don't have to babysit it. Software completes everything and gives you the result at the end. So very simple. Then the processing rules, most of the time you can leave it optimum. That software decides what parameters are best for your data and it does the job. But if you want to mess with it a little bit, you want to check the thing, there are more options available. For example, in the ground, you can click there, you see you want more details or you want the less details, or you can even go to the custom and specify what exact parameters, like how much ground details you're looking for, the raster terrain resolution, what resolution we need to create the rasters, if you want to fill the holes, maybe the shadow in the data or whatnot. So you can control most of them in the parameters, but when you pick optimum, software does it for you internally, so you don't have to worry about it at all. And the same concept goes to the linear features also. I'm just going to put this into optimum. If you go to linear features, same thing. It's the linear feature classification of the point cloud. There are multiple options available. How much aggressive we need to look for the paint stripes in the data. Is your intensity quality is bad or good? You can choose accordingly. Or you can go into custom and you can give more details. You can control your algorithms also, so that the tool kind of handles the simple user who wants to get the surface, who wants to do the design and get it done, and also for the advanced user who might have some, I'm not saying it's a bad data, maybe the data that lacks some information or something, you still have to use it, you can control it also. It kind of caters different types of users, different types of data sets as well. Same thing goes to the vertical features or the Xtopo or city assets. You can use a fewer features. Like for example, if there are trees, there are a lot of joint trees, you might end up having more features. You can choose to say I want only few of them and things like that. Or again, you can control it also. But most of the time, the optimum does the job for you. It gives you phenomenal results, as we will be seeing in a second. And the result options, there are more options there. It's like you can override it. You don't have to store all the point cloud data. You have a chance to use the lightweight point cloud, which will compress the space, and you also have a choice to export whatever you processed. There's a separate export option. I will come to that later. It's just exporting the whatever you processed here. You can take it out. So,
hey
having
Ramesh,
said that, yes.
Can I interrupt you with a question?
Sure.
So there's a question about importing LAZ files, and I thought it might be just a good opportunity to talk about, regardless of the type of raw data that you get, how do you get the data to a form that it can be brought into InfraWorks? Can you talk about that for just a minute?
Definitely. So the InfraWorks right now designed to take the RCS file and RCP file, which comes right off of the recap. When you have the recap, you can have a basic recap or a recap pro, but this format conversion happens in the even in the recap. You can bring in a LAS file, LAZ file, PTS file, FLS file. There are lots of file format you can bring it in, and the software indexes it and creates an RCS file which can be brought in InfraWorks.
All right, great, thanks.
Perfect. All right, so that's the UI part. I just want you guys to have a little bit of information so that when you mess with it, you know what buttons you are clicking. Basically, most of the time I just leave the options as it is and click start processing like I just did, and the software created a data for me. So this one is the processed point cloud data. How do I know it's processed? If I go ahead and switch off the point cloud, there are two ways to see it, and you can actually see the bare earth terrain. Let me just switch it off. And there's an overlay in here. I can switch off the overlay also. So now it removed all the noises and anything in the data, the trees, the cars and everything. Now we have better terrain right there. That helps. And let me bring back the overlay. In this case, I have just the intensity values. So overlay is a little bit vague. And I bring back the point cloud data to show you. There's other way of looking at the point cloud. We use everything called a classification attribute. As a user, you don't have to know too much about it. If you already know, that's well and good. But just to let you know that if you want to see more information, you can use the point cloud themes and a different value. Now you can see what it did internally. Like you can see all the brown points, the bare earth. you can see the software tried to identify the paint stripes and everything in there, and it also tried to classify the trees even though the trees don't have proper ground. Then maybe in the real project you might be trim those things out, you don't need it, but now you can also see the cars and everything. You did a good job. I think it's about probably a kilometer or a mile or something, this data set. You did a good job on classifying and flagging the information here. So at this point of time, this is the step one, how to prep the data, how to create a terrain, how to classify the point cloud, and get what you want so that you can do the feature extraction very efficiently. Very simple. Now I'm going to go to the linear feature part, the second step. Any questions right now, Eric, before I move on to the next one?
One just popped up. It says to use classification, the classification must exist in the original source data, correct?
No. The original source data can be raw. We actually do the classification everything by ourselves.
Great.
So you can bring the raw data set with no classification information, and software takes care of it, everything for you.
Fantastic. That's the only outstanding question right now. Thanks, Ramesh.
Perfect. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change my gears and go to the linear features extraction. So we added a button. This is new in 18.1. That's getting released soon. And there are multiple ways to do it. The easiest way is obviously the automatic one. You click the linear feature extraction, you click automatic, and now you have a choice to actually choose what line style or what feature code you want. What I'm going to do is click here and choose edge of payment, for example. Edge of payment, and just tell the software what are you trying to extract. You can zoom in as much as you want to make sure you're doing the right thing. And this is the line I am trying to extract. Like I said, as a user, you don't have to know the properties of the point cloud and things like that. This is the point cloud data. I just ran an automated tool. I brought it in. I see what I see, and I want to extract it. I'm just telling the software what I want. It just did the line extraction. Before I zoom out and do more, let's just have some fun with it. Let's extract a few more. Let's say I want to extract some paint stripes. You can go back to the more styles, or sometimes the quick select help. This is my paint stripe. I click that and I say this is what I want to extract. So software does, like I said before, the heavy lifting. There are intelligent tools behind the screen. As a user, you basically come across and say, tell the software what you exactly want, and it tries to do that as best as possible. I'm going to extract this paint stripe. Look a little vague, but still I'm going to give it a shot right there. And this one, if anyone who knows point cloud data, you know there's something called intensity. That's what captures this paint stripe. That is needed for this automated processing. If you don't have the intensity, obviously software doesn't know which one you're trying to extract, so it might not extract it. But if you have intensity, software takes care of everything. And even if you have a vague intensity or something, software tries its best to classify them and use them to extract. So just here, in a matter of maybe seconds or minutes, I'm almost done extracting my paint stripes here. They are all stored as a linear objects in our InfraWorks model. When you switch off, you can see that switch off and switch on. And we added more capability to it. You can edit the linear objects in Canvas. Like I can just drag them, I can move the vertex anywhere. It automatically takes the elevation of the terrain. That's a good thing. We already extracted the terrain. And the same thing, if I want to make sure I want everything to line up, you can do that too. Now let me zoom out and see what it did. First of all, let me zoom out all the way. It extracted for the whole file, not just for the area. It extracted for the whole file right there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit more. I have my paint stripes there. Let me pan through to make sure it did what it should or what I promised it would do. And right there, so there is this edge of payment comes here, it kind of deviated, and there's the edge of payment, and there's a new paint stripe appears. No worries, I can just create one more. I can make it a paint stripe and tell the software I want to extract this. You can see that this is actually a little bit vague in here. It's very hard to see even for the human eye, but I just want to make sure, give it a shot. This is what software does. And also for design works, you don't want the lines hanging like that. You may want to snap or something. You can actually do it. Like for example, when I move my mouse here, there's a vertex here, there's a vertex. You can even add a new vertex in the line. I can say right click, add point, it's going to add a vertex. But just for fun, I want to snap this to this vertex, which is a real simple job. Bring it here. When you bring it closer, you can see that it actually snaps to it. And if I leave it, now that line is extended and the vertex snapped to that vertex in the edge of payment, and they both have the corresponding feature style. Everything is good. So I'm just going to drag through the data set to make sure it did everything till the end. There's a slight curve to the data. I'm going to zoom out. It's a long file, you can actually see. That's the edge of payment stopped right there. Perfect. So it did the whole file from the beginning to end. So one part, actually I'm just going to, let me zoom out all the way again. Just for fun, I see the paint stripe on the other side of the road, even though in a real project you will have the data for the other side. And I'm just gonna see if I can do it. Get the paint stripe. I want to extract the other side of the road also, even though there are very sparse points and things. If I'm going to extract some there's some design work, some line work, it's better to get that. Right there, you can actually see it did for the whole file again, right there. There's my paint stripe. So it did a decently good job. It's a very good job on extracting the paint stripe part, which solves most of the people problem. So when you want to extract the line work and the point cloud data, like I said, drone or the mobile or anything, extracting the line work is a tedious process. You have to manually do stuff. This helps you a lot. But when it comes to design, obviously accuracy matters more. So we added a tool to check that accurate data using none other than cross-section view. If you click show cross-section, now I can see the point cloud data in the cross-section view. I'm going to change my theme to elevation so you can actually see a little bit better, and you can actually see here. Actually, I'm going to try one more thing. Before I do that, let me do the linear feature extraction. I'm going to do automatic. This time I'm going to try a break line like a top of the barrier here. I'm going to choose a style. I actually created a custom for you guys. I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to choose top of barrier and tell the software this is what I'm trying to extract, and do what you can basically. So usually the top and bottom, those are some of the things. It's purely elevation based, and it obviously needs to be accurate for the design work. So the software does a really, I don't want to call it a tedious job, but really a rigorous job on make sure it picks up proper points and things like that. As many of you might have dabbled with the point cloud already, point cloud doesn't get the exact point you want. Or not all the time, some of the time or most of the time depending upon your collection. So in those cases the software does a best judgment. That's where the cross-section comes into picture, help you to correct those things to make sure you get the best line work possible. So some customers like the top and bottom to be extracted in the cross-section view because they feel comfortable that's the accurate way to do it. You definitely can. As a matter of fact, I will try to extract the bottom of the barrier in a cross-section mode. But just to tell you that if you have a good data set and like this one, then you can utilize some of the automated methods to get your job done.
Ramesh, so we have a couple more questions if you're interested.
Perfect.
First one was, can we specify the distance between vertices?
Yes and no. We were thinking back and forth on how to add that. Then we realized when you take it to Civil 3D, when you add it as a break line, there is a tool already exists in Civil 3D. You can specify the vertex spacing, how often you want the vertex. So when we polled with the customers, many customers liked it. So that's the workflow we are following right now. But if there is a need to add the vertex spacing in here, we can have offline discussion. We can discuss that later.
Ramesh, isn't there a relationship between when you draw that segment for following, the length of that segment and how frequently it samples points?
You are absolutely right, actually. Thanks for bringing it up. So the segment you are drawing, so we kind of made it customer customizable. So if I draw a long segment like what I just did here, then the software is going to look for that bigger jumps and it's going to go through extraction. which is fine for, this is a relatively straight road, which is fine for these kind of cases. But if you want a curve or the exit ramp or something coming up, you want software to hug the ramp or the curves more, then you give a smaller segment, maybe a meter or 2 meters. Then software will try to go in that spacing, and it'll try to do much better job on hugging those things also.
Okay. Actually a pair of questions that they're kind of related. What if you have RGB color data or data that came from UAV information? So is there a difference to that? Can it handle that kind of data? Is that usable for what you're doing? That sort of thing.
Yeah, we kind of went back and forth on that too. So we right now using intensity values, because from the point cloud world, when I say point cloud, I'm saying from the laser, the LiDAR world, they treat the intensity values tends to be more accurate than the RGB, because the camera calibration, everything comes into picture. So we still maintain that. The one good thing is when you use the Recap Pro based tool, when you do process the drone data, it fills in the intensity value from the RGB. I think the other vendors are trying to do the same as well. You can utilize that and it'll do the same job what I'm showing here. We don't use the RGB at this point of time, just because of the reason that it might not be accurate. It might give you a wrong answer. That's why we didn't add it yet.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Perfect. So now the top of the barrier actually got extracted. Just I'm going to pull it. I'm just going to start somewhere here, just somewhere in random. Now go to the cross-section view, and right there you can actually see I just picked a random area, and that's the top of the barrier it actually picked. Maybe if I manually picked, I would have made really slight change, but software did a really good job on doing that by itself. So now how to extract things manually? Very easy. As a matter of fact, editing the vertex is very easy in cross-section. You can just click and drag it. And you have, let me introduce you the cross-section view first. There's a zoom in option or the exaggeration. We call it as an aspect ratio here. You can go much higher aspect ratios. Very useful for the crown of the road or the edge of pavement, small embankment between the asphalt and the sand. You can even extract those things here. Very useful. And there's a settings option that lets you know how much jump I need to make. Like for example here, I just put it 20 meters. Obviously, in a practical case, you won't extract a 20-meter spacing lines, but just for demonstration purposes, I just put 20 meter. How much of the thickness you want, all those things you can control. As a user, you are definitely in a driving position, and you can choose how far. I'll show you how to traverse to the next one. Coming back to here, I'm going to extract bottom of barrier. Click this, and that's the bottom of barrier. And now when I click to the next, the software automatically goes to the next station or next position, and it's all real time. It's managed real time. You can actually see that's the bottom of the barrier. The software continues to draw the line. Here's your cross section, and here's my view. I have one monitor. I'm sure most of you guys might have more than one monitor, so you can mess with it. But my resolution is pretty high here. So now I'm going to change slightly, go to the next. So some customers like this way of extraction because it gives you more control. It makes sure you understand it's more accurate. At the same time, like I just want to show you whatever the software extract the top of barrier hits right on the mark, at least in this data. So you can actually see that extracting the paint stripe, or sorry, not paint stripe, extracting the break line is very simple. You can, I'm just using one vertex as a change. I just want to zoom out and show you guys that too. But in a reality, if you want to choose multiple vertices, you can extract multiple lines. You can start a new line. You can stop extracting some line. Everything is possible. And there are more additional features we are actually adding. But since I'm using 18.1, these are the ones coming out for the 18.1 release. But right there, so now you can see that it gives you more control, and as a user you can actually see exactly where the vertex is going to be, and so on and so forth. Gives you much more handling of the data. And anytime I click the vertex, you can, there are subtle things like elevations on the side here. I'm just gonna, just for the sake, I'm just gonna bump it up. Definitely in a practical case you won't do 40, but just for demonstration. So you can actually see those the elevations on the side here to help you out. and all those stuffs are available. And if you're using, I have had some customers asking me, if I don't see enough points and my point density is low, what should I do? You can go ahead and increase the thickness of the cross section. In this case, it's actually well good, but I'm just going to say, let's say 30 centimeters maybe. And now you see the kind of got thicker here because it kind of does 30 centimeter thickness. So as a user, you completely have control over it to do the stuff. So I'm going to stop the linear feature cross section right there. Any question on the cross sections or something before I close it?
Nope, currently we're good to go.
Perfect. So now if I zoom out here and if I switch off the point cloud data, you can actually see that I can extract the paint strap and everything in a matter of minutes, right? That's what we're doing, starting with the raw data set. And before exporting, I'm just going to show you this feature. We call it a city asset or the Xtopo feature. Some customers really like even for the design as GIS aspect. Since on the poll I saw that GIS and the road design kind of split equally. Let me just cover that real quick. So the one thing you might notice, all these things, the cars and the trees and everything, the software groups them. So how can I extract as a point features? I totally admit this data is not a great data to show because there's only trees and cars here, but I'm just going to get the point across. You click the point cloud modeling. What software does is it identifies each and every group of points and try to see what they might be. Is it a tree or a street light or a sign or any miscellaneous? I just put it as a car just before the demo to just to spice it up. So you can actually see all these things here. Now I'm going to do is what software does is basically it shows me. Let me move it around. So let me see, make it simpler. I'm going to do everything more than 2 meters tall, and right there, that's the one that definitely looks like a tree. I'm going to choose a tree and press next. So the idea here is, let me zoom out a bit. There we go. So the idea here is software does the heavy lifting on auto recognize what they are, and we are still working on the auto recognition part, make it better and better. But as a user, you completely have control over it. Obviously, that cannot be a sign. I can either choose to keep it as a tree or I can remove it. So now you're basically letting the software know what you're doing. In this case, these are small bush. I would like to see the tree there and all those stuff. But the creating a point which every time you click this, it software shows the tree model in that location. But what internally does it actually creates a point feature and assigns a tree style. And you can change that. For example, this car, I'm going to use unknown, but if you want to change it something else, you can actually go here to settings and choose this, and there are a lot of options available. You can choose what type of tree, what type of street lights, what type of signs you want, and you can obviously, there's a separate web session, you can even create your own sign, so you can bring it inside InfraWorks and you can use that as a model display here for each of those features also. But I'm going to leave it as a car here. I'm just going to change it a little bit, let's say station wagon. So now if I click this, the software automatically put it. Again, as I said before, user is always in a driving condition. You can choose what you want to do. And the really cool part about this tool is that as a user, you don't have to go. Imagine there's about probably a 1 mile data. Imagine I have to extract the trees or even cars, for example. And I know cars is not a road design item. For a GIS application, let's say you're doing a transport traffic analysis, you want to know how many cars on a given day. You don't have to manually pan through the data and get those information. Software takes you to that location. You might use like a few seconds for each feature, but that's all you are spending. If you don't like it, like here, this one, I don't like this feature, I can just delete and move on. And there are times there could be multiple features together. We have a tool, you can divide them into multiple, and so that you can make the necessary choice. But the idea here is you can get this job done much easier, much simpler, and software does the heavy lifting for you. And you have a lot of control over it. If you want to see just there's a filtering, navigation filter options, and to choose exactly what you're looking for. So that's the point cloud tool. That's the third point, extracting Xtopo information. and or the city assets or city furnitures, however we want to call it. I actually took a stab at it before, so let me just show you the proposal just to give you an idea, like extracting these features. Any questions when I'm going to the next level?
Ramesh, there was a question about extracting overhead power lines. Is that possible?
Sure. In the cross section, it is possible. So when you go into a cross section, you can actually choose, like for example here, of course this data does not have a overhead power line. In this case, imagine there's a power line going through here. I can choose a break line 1, I can click a point, you can go to the next station and next station, and you can continue to create a 3D polyline here. In that way, it is possible. The automation is right now it's focusing for roads, but the cross section is a little bit open. It lets you extract pretty much whatever you see in the point cloud. You should be able to extract. Like I think one of the customers did the bridge, the columns and things like that. When they go through the bridge, they want more details on the stuff. They can extract a 3D polyline.
Okay, great. Kind of a second part of that question. There's a question about curves, and if I understand correctly, it'll do horizontal curves but not vertical. Is that correct?
This gets the elevation values from the point cloud data. So if you're going to get the curves going to up and down, the software will extract those things also.
Mm-hmm.
So any 3D line you're extracting is from the point cloud, both horizontal and vertical.
Okay, great.
Perfect. So now let me just switch off here. Just want to zoom out. Oh yeah, the one more thing I forgot to introduce you guys. So once you extract the line work, you can extract transverse lines also. Let me go back to my master proposal before I show off here. That's basically to augment. Most of the customers use the line work and interpolate between the lines, create a surface. You can take this to Civil 3D and do all those stuff. You can complete your road design. That's completely possible right now. But if you want to augment it with any more information, like for example, I want to extract a transverse line every so often, just click the line, right click and say generate transverse line, and you can specify what are the parameters you want, how often you want, what's the vertex space. You can start with a 6-inch or a 15 centimeter vertex spacing to any level. I have a meter, whatever you want, you can specify it, and the software does the create the vertex and just the draping, all those things for you. That's what I just did right here. Just for the time's sake, I'm skipping to the different proposal, and you can do the whole thing. So now at the end, in a matter of 35 minutes for a mile data, you can actually extract. I extracted all these point features. I even showed some cars there. It may be buried somewhere. I didn't show all the cars. Just want to make sure it's good for the design. You can snap all those things. And once you have it, now taking this to a Civil 3D got much easier. Click of a button, literally. You click the export point cloud. So now all the point cloud related stuff you can export it. Like I can do the ground grid points only. That's a good thing about terrain generation. Even for the high resolution data like this is actually a Pegasus system. One of the good system in the market on the mobile LiDAR collects high resolution data depending upon the speed you collect. Even on that, we can do all these things. Software can classify. We just classified this in a few minutes. You can do that. You can create a grid ground points. All the linear features along with the attributes, feature codes, everything you can extract as a linear part. Some customers like the transfers, some customers might not use it, so we kept it as optional. You can take it as a CSV file, you can take it to Civil 3D, you can augment your surface. The vertical, all those trees, traffic lights, signs, street lights, all those things, you can actually take it in as a 3D point shape file. You can go wherever you want to go with it. And another beauty of this is you can specify the target coordinate system. You can work in any coordinate system in InfraWorks, but when you want to go into Civil 3D or any design, you obviously want information you extract has to match with the drawing coordinate system. So you can specify whatever coordinate system you want. In this case, it's West Virginia, I think, but you can specify even more. You can just type in anything you want, and the software will reproject it for you and take it out in the area and specify the output folder. You get everything. I'm just going to just show you exports and go. So now this export the last piece in my item. So now you know how to bring the point cloud data, run the step number 1 point cloud terrain, and use the linear features for the breakline extraction, the point cloud modeling for any point features or GIS features you want to extract, or extopo features for design. You can use point cloud theme to view the point clouds better. I just covered only classification theme, but there are a lot more themes you can customize, you can do much better. And of course at the end you can export it and take it into your design environment also. So now you can complete the whole workflow and do your road design or anything else much easier with the reality capture data. Any questions, Eric?
Nope, we're all caught up at the moment.
Perfect. Let me show you maybe, I mean there are multiple ways to bring it in, so I can actually show you real quick. I'm not going to add the coordinate system here because it's some customer data, but just to show you, there are multiple ways you can bring in the linear features and you can do stuff with it. I'm just going to use a simple map import in here. It may not be the best way to import it, but just to get the point across, I'm going to bring the linear features, in this case, right there. And if I go zoom to extend, so that's all my linear features here, and each of them carries all the details. So if you want to create a surface, this obviously the customers might know already. I can just create a new surface and add this as a break line. I'm going to add it. So this is where I'm just going to call it a linear strings, and I want vertex spacing, let's say every 5 feet in this case. So this is where you can actually do that part. I was answering one of the questions, and then go ahead and select these guys. So now if I go ahead, change the surface style, let's say, I mean, this high resolution data, let's see close, let's say half a feet contours, and let me just display them slightly better. The major contours as a red and the minor as a different color. Apply. So right there you can actually see I can extract the I think it's a unit is different. I'm just going to make the contour interval even closer. Better. So now you can see that getting the break line, bringing it to the from the point cloud data, relatively bigger size point cloud, and getting the design is much easier, and we're getting the sort tool will get much more better, and to make your job much more easier for that. I think that's all I have for today, Eric.
Ramesh, I actually have a question that I'm curious about.
Sure.
Switching back to your InfraWorks interface, I noticed you have a very clean interface while you're doing your feature extraction. Can you talk a little bit about like maybe some of the settings you've applied there with maybe some transparency to your surface and that sort of thing?
Definitely, yeah. So when you do the linear features, software internally does a little bit of a transparency adjustment. You can control it. When you go to conceptual view and the settings, here's the surface opacity. You can actually control how much you want. The surface and the line is a little tricky. So sometimes they're right on the same elevation. Sometimes you get a little bit difficult to pick them. This surface opacity helps a lot, and especially when you have a point cloud on the view, it makes it much easier with the opacity part. And the other settings I use, I told you you can have a multiple line styles. You can create them in the style palette. That's what I did for you guys on the linear features. By default, when you install 18.1 this week, when you get released, you won't see the top of barrier and bottom of barrier. That's not part of it. This I just created for you guys. Just click a button. Plus here I'm just going to call it a, this is a top feature. Let's say I'm going to call it, I'll keep the same color. I'm going to call it top wall, for example. And same thing as a bottom wall. So you can actually create your own custom ones, and you can specify the feature codes also. Let me show you what so here's a feature code comes in. So any feature you are trying to extract, you can assign the feature code that's a part of the attributes of each linear feature, so that when you take it to design, it knows exactly what it is. Like here, when I do the edge of payment, I gave the default one as EP as a feature code, same thing with the paint stripe as a PS, and so on and so forth. So very few, the options are effective and very small so that it's easy for user to do what they want.
Ramesh, when you start a project that you're going to do work with point cloud data or feature extraction specifically, do you have to start with a clean model, or can you maybe start with Model Builder to get your bearings? Is there any restrictions on that?
No, you can use either way. You can use a model builder and then put your point cloud on top of it and start extracting your stuff also, or clean model like I did here.
Great. Well, I think that catches us up with questions, and I believe you have presented all that you intended to present. So I'm going to switch myself back to presenter real quick, and I just want to remind everybody that we have another webcast coming up in 2 weeks, and that's going to be Angel Espinoza, once again, July 26th from 12 to 1. That's 2 weeks from now, 12 to 1 Eastern. And he's going to be showing us 10 amazing things you can do with InfraWorks. I know it's going to be awesome. You're not going to want to miss it. So watch for that email information about registering, or keep an eye on the sites listed below as far as registration information for that webcast. I'd like to thank Ramesh for coming on and doing a wonderful presentation. We had very high registration numbers for this, so we have a lot of people who wanted to know about this topic. This has been recorded, so if you want to review it at a later date, it'll be posted to the community site. If you know someone who wanted to come and wasn't able to, you can let them know that it will be recorded and available for them to view at a later date as well. So thanks again, Ramesh. Thanks to all of you who've attended for giving us an hour out of your day, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Have a great day.